Alright guys, I'm a little behind getting this video done. Baseball season has been just completely destroying my schedule here, and I'm exhausted, but we're just going to do this thing anyways. So, today, Compulsion Games released South of Midnight in early access, and this is a game that we've had our eyes on for a long time now due to the heavy involvement of Sweet Baby Inc. and Kim Belair, and of course that's a whole big controversy in and of itself. There's even discussions about this game about whether or not the lead character was race swapped from a white woman to a black. I don't have any concrete evidence of that. That's just a rumor that's circulated online. At the end of the day, I have no problem with a game about the Deep South having a black woman as the protagonist. The problem I have is that there are so many other red flags about this game that I think most people are just going to look at this one and say, yeah, not for me. Maybe I'll check it out on Game Pass. And, they're probably not going to spend the money on this game. That being said, the media is, of course, shilling for the game because of the fact that there is so much pushback against it. So if you look at just the headlines, for most of the articles that are out there, it's all very favorable. From Polygon, South of Midnight weaves a spellbinding tale of grief, loss, and hope. GameSpot, South of Midnight review, a love letter to the American Deep South. I mean, and look, whether or not the game is authentic in the way that it portrays the South, I have no idea. If it is, that's fantastic. For my Southern brethren out there, that's great. More power to you guys if you want to play the game. I personally, based on what I'm hearing about the game, I couldn't even be bothered to play it on Game Pass. It sounds like it's not worth playing for essentially free. Okay, not to mention, Compulsion Games, the developer of this game, has had a lot of other issues, one of them being this community manager, where last year it was exposed that she was kind of a racist, which is funny because it seems like the most racist people are the ones who pretend to be actively, quote, anti-racist as they call themselves. So she hates gamers, she hates white men. It's the usual crap you see online. At this point, it's very tiresome, so I'm getting sick and tired of even complaining about it because it's like, yeah, okay, basically at this point now, you can assume that half the people online hate you for your gender, hate you for your ethnicity or your perceived, politics or whatever. It gets to be very tiresome. So, of course, Veridark tweeted this morning, happy South of Midnight, early access, release date of Compulsion Games, with a little, smiley face here. And, of course, it's because Compulsion Games went on the warpath not too long ago, blocking a bunch of accounts. And so I quote tweeted and said, before people call us racist for not wanting to play South of Midnight, where you vanquish past trauma, engage in repetitive and boring-looking transversal, while playing as a foul-mouthed Southern woman, all in a game heavily influenced by Sweet Baby Inc. And yes, I say foul-mouthed in that because one of the reviews or the sneak peeks I saw of the game from, again, another person who got early access, looked to actually do like a review of it, was saying how apparently the character has got like grit and edgy and she's not afraid to curse. And I'm like, oh, good. Another, another foul-mouthed, strong woman who's going to put people in their place, right? It's like, okay, guys, come on. At some point, you have to realize that some of these tropes, it's like if you have a strong woman and you make her a lesbian. You go, okay, so you're saying you can't be a strong woman without being gay? I mean, at some point, you have to understand that how these things look. It just seems like a stereotype time and time again. But here we are today. The game peaked at about 496 players. Now, again, let's be fair. This is a AA game. It's not a AAA game. I doubt the budget for this game was nearly as high as other titles that we've seen this year. And of course, that being said, it probably didn't have as much marketing as well. But the game peaked at just under 500 players today in early access. Who knows how many more are going to jump on the bandwagon at this point. We also don't know how many people on Xbox paid a little bit extra to play the game in early access through Game Pass. And of course, remember, most reports indicate that when you put your game on Game Pass, you kill off about 80% of your purchases. So, they sacrificed 80% of their sales to put this game on Game Pass day one. Very interesting decision. I don't know how that's going to pan out for them. But what I want to focus on is one of these negative reviews, because there's only currently 2 negative reviews on Steam. There's only a handful of reviews, like maybe 24 at this point. Most of them are very, very glowing as far as, the environment and the scenery and the storytelling and the music. And look, the art style even may not be for me, but I'm not going to say the game doesn't look visually very cool. It's a very cool looking game. However, this person here, Dr. Taco Chocolate on Steam, put 10.5 hours into the game today, spent their money to play it, and here's what they had to say. I was pretty disappointed by this one. It's basically one of those generic action-adventure games from the late 2000s, albeit with modern graphics. The levels are all linear and filled with bland gameplay. You'll run, you'll jump, you'll climb things in a manner very reminiscent of Uncharted, but even less engaging. You'll get locked into little combat arenas to fight the game's small bestiary with a single combo while dodging and using skills on cooldown. The game is simply incredibly perfunctory, although it does look pretty terrific and have plenty of personality to spare. Goes on to say, the story isn't very good, though even if it does have its moments, mostly with the self-contained character stories. I can't imagine the game taking anyone more than 10 hours unless you're playing on hard. The game runs decently, but there just isn't anything exciting or original here. It strongly reminded me of Alice Madness Returns, albeit with less jank and with all the ambition and uniqueness sanded off. This is definitely a game that feels like a product. It's not bad, but unless you're itching for a simple, older style game with absolutely no depth, I'd give it a pass. And this is something that we're seeing a lot. Even like the non-negative, like the favorable or, you know, moderate reviews on Metacritic, the ones that aren't giving it like 100 or a 90 are generally saying, yeah, you know, the game has a lot of things going for it, but it's just empty. It's there, but, you know, it's just not a polished game. The gameplay is boring. The combat's boring. It's just undercooked, essentially. So even the positive clips that I'm seeing come out about this game, okay? This guy says, after completing the first chapter of South of Midnight, I'm eager as hell to continue playing. This game is a complete and utter vibe. For me, I don't know. I find this voice acting and this story to be extremely cringe. You guys tell me, though, because maybe I'm just being overly critical.
I have my hurricane checklist. Is that a smiley face? Hey, Hazel, think fast. Oh, come on, Mama. We don't have room for my track shoes. You know how expensive those things are. You best find somewhere to pack them. And pack them light. Yeah, I know. What'd you say? I said, and pack them light. Pack a bag, then pack it light. Hey, pack your bags, then pack them light. I have my...
Maybe it's because I don't play games like Lost Records or Life is Strange, but to me, this whole entire interaction, I would probably have died of cringe playing the game. Then, of course, you have ones that remind people more of Forspoken, that game which we shouldn't speak about, but of course, unfortunately, it's kind of a meme that you have to talk about from time to time.
I did that? More of you? I'll be screwed without these hooks.
Did I just do that?
Well, definitely with my assistance.
I did not just do that.
We did.
I just move shit with my mind.
Perhaps.
And of course, you know how the rest of this goes. But again, like I said earlier, this is one of those things. It's not because you can't have a game with a well-written female black protagonist. The problem is that we've seen so many examples like this, or Flintlock Siege of Dawn, where it's just done so poorly, it's executed poorly, and the result is just a game where it's unfortunately like, you know, it's a monster of its own making. Kyle says, Forspoken writing aside, Sweet Baby Inc. South of Midnight has very basic combat, but it's not the focus of the game. The best parts are the very few boss fights, apparently. How many boss fights do you think there are? I don't know, but this is, of course, from Mortismal Gaming, who got to do a review on it, and this is what he had to say about it.
Combat, just very basic. There really just wasn't a lot going on there, and, you know, it's obviously not the core focus of a game like this. It gets boring pretty quick, and I think the best part are just the very few boss fights that you're going to have along the way.
So again, complaining about the combat, and I don't understand why these decisions have been made in so many of these games where it's like, okay, well, you can either have good combat or you can have a good narrative story, but you can't have both. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, this one's really weird. Hypnotic was playing through it, and I don't know if this is actually supposed to be Harriet Tubman's character or not, but I'm just going to play this for a second.
Offered us safe passage.
Go, Harriet Tubman. Do the Assassin's Creed move. Yeah! No way!
So I think it's some other character who's supposed to be like, maybe like a Harriet Tubman-like character. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to play this game. But again, running on a wall of blankets, I get it. She's maybe using like a spirit walk situation, but it just doesn't look good. Anyways, guys, I don't want to be too hard on the game given the fact that maybe there are people out there that actually enjoy it. Maybe it actually speaks to them. I know that there was a review by the Black Viking that damn thing had to have been written by AI, and every person in the replies, and most of them were black men, all saying, oh, I played this game and I wept. And I'm like, that just sounds forced. It sounds performative. But you guys let me know what you think about this. I honestly don't think this game is going to be the success that a lot of people are hoping it will. And again, it's unfortunate because it would be nice for, you know, to have different games other than like the AAA slop, to have AA games that do a good job telling a cool story, maybe having things that we don't see every day, but this game doesn't seem to reinvent anything. So that being said, guys, I'm gonna leave it right there. I will catch you guys on the next one. All right, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have 2 channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick for my gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.